illustrated and written by Peter Utton. "Ag," said George, "what's that?" And he pointed to a horrible, brown, crinkly thing pinned to the wall. Dad looked up. "Oh, that? Why, that's a..." And he paused and looked down at his son. "That's a..." "No, I can't tell you. It's too scary." "Scary?" cried George. "Why is it scary? Tell me, tell me." "Oh, all right then," said Dad, "but it is scary." And he lifted George onto his lap. "Well," said Dad, "last night when you and your brother and Mummy and I were all in bed, I woke up suddenly. I sat up and stared into the darkness. I heard a sort of slither, pat, pat, cackle, cackle. Someone or something was moving along the landing. I slipped out of bed and crept to the door. Listening, I heard again the slithery, pattery, cackly sound from down the hall. I rushed on tiptoe to your bedroom. The door was slightly open. I peeped in. My hair quietly and swiftly stood on end, and I gazed in horror as I saw, bending over your little beds, a huge witch, dressed in a great black cloak and a tall pointed hat. By the dim glow of your nightlight, I could see she was horribly ugly. Leering down at your sleeping head, she grinned an awful grin, and from between her green, occasional teeth squeezed a grotesque cackle of satisfaction. She lifted up a dirty sack, and as her bony hand reached out towards you, I tried to shout, "Stop, you horrible old hag!" But all I said was, "Sturag, gorag, googag, googag, googag." The witch stopped, slowly turned, and fixed me with a terrible bloodshot stare. Pointing a disgusting finger at me, she hissed a most evil hiss. "Stand back! I must have these boys." "Oh, no, you won't," I whispered, and staggering over to her, I gripped her large, warty wrists. "Irk," I thought. Just touching her made me shiver. We struggled for many long minutes in a dreadful silence until I was able to grab her filthy, knotted neck and give her a good shake. "Aggle, aggle, aggle," she squawked and went limp and smelly. "I've won," I thought, but suddenly, with a blood-freezing cackle, the vile old woman began growing larger and stronger and more revolting by the second. "Good gracious," called Mummy, poking her head round the bedroom door. "Don't wake the boys!" "Quick," I gasped, "get the sword." "Sword? Which sword?" asked Mummy. "The witch sword. It's in the broom closet." "Oh, that sword," cried Mummy, and rushed from the room. "You silly little man," croaked the witch, and bending her face down to mine, she smeared a sickening cloud of stench and cobwebs into my face. Stepping back, she drew from her evil-smelling cloak a most terrible weapon. Clasped in her great horny hand was a dagger of vipers. This is the end, I thought, as the giant hag raised her arm to strike. But then Mummy appeared in the doorway, eyes flashing, wielding the great sword from the broom closet. "Too late," hissed the witch, and stabbed at me with the dagger of vipers. Mummy, and with one bound and a great swish of the sword, she cut off the horrible hand, and it fell to the ground with its fearful weapon. What a rotten trick, the witch screeched, and with a squelchy, spluttery sound, she started to sink down and down until, with a final watery splop, she disappeared. Splop! Phew, I said. That was a near thing. And Mummy and I looked at you and your brother still sleeping quietly in your bed. Look, said Mummy, pointing to the floor. There lay the horrible hag's hand, all brown and withered and crinkly. I'll pin that on the wall, I said, to remind me to lock all the doors at night. Good idea, said Mummy. I'll make some tea. And that's the story of the witch's hand, said Dad, and George gazed up at the horrible brown crinkly thing. Is that really the witch's hand? He whispered. No, replied Dad, and he reached up and picked it off the wall. It's a leaf I found in the park the other day. It was a beautiful reddish-brown gold color, but now it's gone all horrible and brown and crinkly. And he crushed it to dust in his hand and dropped it in the wastebasket. It was just a story, he laughed. George looked at the wall, and then he looked at the wastebasket, and then he looked at his Mummy and saw that she was smiling. Why, you rotten fibber, cried George, and then he laughed too. The Witch's Hand by Peter Utton.